when you're in Terminator 2 in the
Right.
wash, breaking your neck.
In that sequence, I'm driving the blue car.
And we're coming up to where you break your neck. So
Correct.
you're
That's the blue car on the left there with all of the camera. That's Cameron sitting on the car. I sheared the top off the semi under tow because it was too dangerous to drive the truck
Right.
underneath the overpass. We showed up out there on the set to do testing for a week before the picture. The problem is that it was like ice every day. There was nothing you could do to create traction, to turn, or to stop. We brought in sand blasters and tried to sandblast the surface. We brought in NASCAR jet dryers and tried to blow the surface clean, and we could never create traction. So I
Right.
went out for this test day with that blue pickup truck, and they introduced me to James Cameron, who took my hand, and he said, I'm James Cameron. He hasn't let go of my hand yet. He
Yeah.
said, we're going to be shooting in this riverbed. There's no traction down there. We're bound to hit the walls. How do you feel about putting a wheel sideways at all four corners of your rig so if we hit the wall, we can keep going? That was the first statement he made to me. He still got a hold of my hand. I said, well, James, there is no camera operator in the world that can control his body mass enough to stay behind the camera if we impact the wall with wheels or not, which is going to ruin your shot anyway. Why don't we just not hit the walls? And he hired me, and he sent home about 15 other variations of equipment, high-speed cars and other camera vehicles, sent them home, and I did the movie. So in that shot where I got my neck broken, we needed a shot of the back tire. We were doing second unit. Cameron was doing first unit up at Hanson Dam, and we needed a shot of the front bumper of the semi coming in and bumping Eddie Furlong's motorcycle, Eddie
Right.
Furlong being the actor playing the kid. And there was no way to do it safe. As soon as he touched, he goes down. The truck can't stop. He goes underneath. We kill the stuntman.
Right.
No way to do it. So we devised a way where I put an ATV with a trailer in between and a tow rig behind to tow the motorcycle so that the stuntman driving the semi, which now has no top, he can't see the motorcycle when it's up against the front. He can see me up at the front of the ATV, riding the ATV with a helmet on. That blue camera car is running along next to me, shooting sideways down at the tire. I'd hold a constant speed with the camera car looking at it, and he would come in. He's supposed to give it a bump and then back out. And he'd come in, slam the brakes, and it'd be just short. And he'd come in and he'd slam the brakes, and it'd be just short. And on the third trip in, he overran it, and he hit it so hard that it jackknifed me, the trailer, and the ATV, and turned it over. I had about 1,400 pounds of ATV, trailer, and motorcycle on top of my chest. And I was sliding backwards down the. First, I headbutted the fender on the camera car, which kept me from going under it. And I'm sliding down the riverbed backwards, and I can't see the semi. It's down there, and I know it's coming, and it's over. And I can't explain to you why, but I was really calm. I just thought, I was always wondering how it was going to end. I guess this is how it's going to end, because I know Tommy can't stop the semi. We've tried repeatedly to make him stop. Gary is standing on the back of the truck looking down at me, and he's screaming, "Look out!" Afterwards, he came up to me and he said, "I don't know what the fuck I thought you were going to do." I'm wearing this ATV.
Did you have a helmet on?
I had a helmet
Okay.
on. Would have killed me without the helmet.
Right, right.
I mean, I headbutted the truck and slammed the ground. Tommy turned that rig into the wall, and for some reason, the steering axle and the semi hooked, and turned that. It's a cab over, so it's a bullnose front, and he hit the wall and crushed it from the center line of the windshield. It's got a bar that goes down to the back of the right side door. Crushed it flat and destroyed the semi and saved my life. They unpiled the gear off of me, and I'm paralyzed on my right side. I've got no arm and no shoulder. And I know I'm hurt pretty bad. I'm not sure how bad. And they asked me if I was okay. People asked me since then, they say, how long were you in the hospital? And I said, I didn't go to the hospital. I worked the rest of the day. Ask me why.
I know why.
I know you do.
Yeah, why is
Because if
that?
you tell them you're hurt, they'll think you did something wrong. It started to come back. I didn't tell a soul about it. I had about 30% of my arm by the time we wrapped the movie, and I never told a soul. However, I had to go back and report back to first unit like 2 weeks later, and James by then had really taken a liking to me. We got along. He yelled at everybody, but he never yelled at me ever. I like to believe it's because he knew I could kill him and make it look like an accident, because everything we did was like balls against the wall. I was driving into the parking lot at the corral, and he saw me. He came running over. He didn't wait for me to stop, and he jumped up on the passenger side door and grabbed it, and he said, "Are you all right? I heard you had a wreck out there." And I said, "Well, James, let me ask you a question." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "Did that shot make it in the movie?" He said, "Hell yeah, I made it in the trailer too." And I said, "Then I'll be fine." And then years later, I re-injured my neck doing a space horse opera called Serenity. and I bashed my head and snapped it back and reactivated the fracture site, and I lost my arm again, and they had to open me up and take the calcium off the fracture sites. I remember I went to the doctor and he did the MRI, and I said, so what's going on? And he said, well, right here where you broke your neck, the calcium deposits have started to grow back onto the nerve bundle. And I said, where I what? I'd never had a doctor look at it. He said, you broke C4 and C5. And the calcium deposits, when I re-aggravated it, began to grow, and they impinged on the nerve, and I lost my right side again. I've got about 90% of it back now, but I'm not conscious of it.
Jeez.
Yeah. Cool.
Little crazy.
There's things I happen to know about you, Jack.
Yes,
not just because I love you, because I respect you too.
There's not that many people that know as much about me as you do.
Man, I remember things, and it's interesting.
You do. It's a little dangerous to tell you anything knowing that.
Yeah.
Were there other sequences in Terminator 2 that?
Well, all of the running stuff on it was all mine. Everything that was moving a camera. When we went to shear the top off of the semi, James knew that we'd kill a stuntman trying to do it. We've got a real overpass he's going to hit. We've scored the top, and it might go back or it might go down. They can't drive it in there. It'll kill somebody. So he asked me if I could pull it in there under tow with that rig, and it outweighed me about 3 times my weight on a surface with no traction whatsoever. And I said, yes, but nobody on. Mm-hmm. Nobody riding with me because it's too dangerous. He said, fine, it won't be anybody but you and I, because he's crazy. And he got in the cab. We ran all the camera controls into the cab with us so he could roll the camera, and he had a monitor in there. And I had a 2-mile run to get to it around this windy road, and we're like right on the edge of tagging the walls in every corner, and it's not anything for picture. We're just trying to get to the mark going fast enough. And I asked him, as soon as you hit, you're cutting away, right? Because he's editing the picture. I says, the minute it hits, you got other stuff to go to. And he said, yes. Because I don't know what it's going to do when I hit. It might pick up my back end. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen to us in the truck. And he said, I'm going to cut the instant it hits. I've got 7 cameras on the impact point. I've got the actor going to pop up out of it afterwards. Do whatever you got to do. And I'd rigged an air brake, which is that engineering thing. I figured out a way to control the brakes on the semi. And we hit that thing at almost 60 miles an hour, and it sheared the top off. And he rolled the cameras, nobody else on but him. And when we hit that thing and came out the other side, I slammed the air brakes on and locked all 10 wheels on the semi and slid us to a stop. And James, in typical James Cameron fashion, no matter what we did, we blew up the Cyberdyne building on Terminator 2. I mean, we leveled a 3-story building, and he walked out and did the same thing he did that day. Walked out and went, it's raining flaming debris. And he said, cool.